Bedford College very briefly. In 1972, our director, Mr. Bankar Roy, started this organization in a village called Colonia. It's around 100 kilometers from Jaipur, and it was developed for various areas such as water, education, medicine, health camps, and handicrafts, and musicians. And now we have a big project in solar. So it all started with installing hand pumps in villages, and then moved on to education, and then there was caste barriers, there was a lot of activism, there was a lot of movement. But a very unique thing about this place is that the entire campus is run by rural people who belong to the same state. And so we've been taking two initiatives of Bedford College today. One which is handicraft, and another project which we have with the musicians. It's called Kamairi. So Pokhar is working with the craft section for the past 6-7 years. He also handles social media for Bedford College. And whoever works have undergone through a lot of training in Bedford College. It doesn't, people who work there don't literally have to be educated or should own a degree, but people from local region have been trained in computers and in taking care of the whole campus, managing it, running it. So the ownership of this place actually lies in the hands of the rural population. So Pokhar would tell us about the craft section.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम पोखर है। बेडफोर्ड कॉलेज में हस्तकला गतिविधि 1964 से शुरुआत की गई, जिससे ग्रामीण दस्तकारों को रोजगार मिले और उनकी परंपरागत कलाएं जीवित रह सकें। काफ़ी आइटम्स हम बनाते हैं, जैसे बेड कवर है, बैग्स है, बेड पोताज है, लेदर का आइटम्स है, व्यू पोट्री है और लकड़ी के हैं। ये बाड़मेर में हमारा एक फील्ड सेंटर है, जहाँ एप्लिक और कसीदा के काम होता है। वहाँ करीब 20 गाँव में हमारा दस्तकारों का काम चल रहा है। पूरा 47 विलेजेस है, जिसमें तिलोनिया मतलब दस्तकारों के साथ काम कर रही है। ये तिलोनिया.com वेबसाइट है, जो फ्रेंड्स ऑफ तिलोनिया के नाम से US रजिस्टर्ड है, जो हमारे द्वारा मैनेज की जाती है तिलोनिया में, और यहाँ से हम डायरेक्टली कस्टमर को सामान भेजते हैं बाय स्पीड पोस्ट। शिपिंग और ऑर्डर कम्युनिकेशन और अपडेटिंग और फोटो अपलोडिंग और ऑनलाइन इन्वेंट्री अपडेट, ये सब हम तिलोनिया में करते हैं। ये हमारा फिगर्स है जो हम एक्सपोर्ट सेल से करते हैं, और एक डोमेस्टिक सेल ये सिर्फ ICT यूज़ करके हैं। ये बेंगलोर में एग्जीबिशन लगाया था हमने, उसमें हमने अच्छी सक्सेस मिली थी, जिससे सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू काफ़ी लोगों को सूचना दे पाए थे, और ब्लॉग साइट भी डेवलप की गई, और फेसबुक, ट्विटर, रेडियो, ईमेल्स, इनके द्वारा काफ़ी लोगों तक हम जानकारी पहुंचा पाए। ये फेसबुक पेज है हमारा तिलोनिया बाजार के नाम से, और हम निरंतर इसको अपडेट करते रहते हैं। ये ब्लॉग साइट, अच्छा, ये ब्लॉग साइट का ये पेज है, जो इसमें हमारा का जितना भी कैटेगराइज प्रोडक्ट है वो सब इसमें डाले हुए हैं, आप भी देख सकते हैं। जैसे डोमेस्टिक कस्टमर्स रिक्वायरमेंट करते हैं कि क्या क्या आप बनाते हो, कैसे देख सकते हैं, तो इससे हम मतलब दिखा सकते हैं। और ये आगे की हमारी प्लानिंग है कि ऑलरेडी जो कंप्यूटर सीखी हुई महिलाएं हैं वो इन्वेंट्री को टैली पर मेंटेन करें, जिससे कि हम देख सकते हैं कि क्या बिक रहा है और क्या नहीं बिक रहा है, और पूरा रिपोर्ट देख सकते हैं। और वेबसाइट भी हम डेवलप करने जा रहे हैं। और कम्युनिकेशन, ये फील्ड सेंटर जैसे कि हमारा धनाव में फील्ड सेंटर है तिलोनिया से करीब 500 किलोमीटर दूर, तो जिस कलर में जिस डिजाइन में हमें ज़रूरत है कि वो बनाना है, तो ईमेल से हम उनसे कम्युनिकेशन कर सकते हैं। तो थैंक यू।
So the project which documents folk artists of Rajasthan is called Kamaiti Project, and this project began in 2012. But Tilonia has been working with traditional artists from Rajasthan since 1980s, and we work under the guidance of Aruna Roy for this project. And Kamaiti is basically documenting the folk art and their music, their culture, everything. And we've made a website with the help of DEF. It's called kamaiti.org, in which we would like to profile every musician, and we would like to feed all their information like their mobile numbers, their contact details, so that anybody who wants to invite them can just contact them directly without having the need of going through a middleman or through some party or through some organizer. So when we go to these villages and meet the musicians, we see that it's this entire lifestyle around them. I think the entire lifestyle supports their music. The way they live, the way their villages are, everything it's kind of imbibed into their music a lot, the culture and tradition. And it comes naturally to children who would be just running around playing the dhol, singing and going. So it's mother tongue for them. They don't have to practice, they don't have to go to formal schools for learning it. And we get to see beautiful stories around music, and I think all of these needs to be documented. Their culture, their land, the way they live sustainably with everything around them, because desert provides a very hostile environment, but they are still able to develop their music and everything through small things around. And this was in one of the field visits. We were just crossing, and we saw this group of women under the tree. So they were having a nice break from their farming, and they were just sitting and doing handicraft and making chai for everyone. So this is the website that we have, and we have like a couple of musician profiles already registered, but we would like to extend it to a whole lot of communities we have. And this was the Lok Utsav which we organized. There has been 10 Lok Utsav in the past 20 years. And when it was organized last year, we could actually live broadcast it so that people around the world who wanted to see were actually online and could experience it. So this is our website, and it was the live webcast of Lok Utsav. We also have a SoundCloud platform on which we are trying to document their audios and uploading it. Then we have YouTube channel, and we often see that instruments like Bakia has never been documented in Bhuta, or Marwadi Khyal has never been documented in Bhuta. So I think ICT can be one such platform in which we could actually bring out and share the music to a whole lot of audience. This is the Facebook page, and that's it. So it's just an ongoing process of documentation, and I hope you will be able to do it yourself. Thank you.
Well, Tilonia is very special for me because it was my very first Laskar project. And I learned how to have a bath with a tube, with a hand pump. And that was 33 years ago. I think that was a very interesting presentation, and the way that Tilonia has managed to shift from domestic retail to international export, and using very effectively social media and whatever. But I'm very interested in where they come from. Oh, there. I'm interested to know that in the shift from products that you were making for the Indian market, and really Philonia was one of the first to bring rural artisans to Delhi, and I remember that exhibition at Triveni Kala Sangam. We now see much less of you in Delhi, and perhaps that's because you have gone more online, more export-oriented. But have you found that that has needed you to make a shift in the kind of products and designs that you were making?
I think Pokhar would be able to answer it better because he also did that session.
तो अभी जो आप एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट के लिए सामान बना रहे हो, उसमें आपके डिजाइन, आपके रंग, आपके प्रोडक्ट्स में कुछ बदलाव आया है?
एक्सपोर्ट के लिए? हाँ बिल्कुल, एक्सपोर्ट के लिए अलग रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, अलग कलर्स होते हैं, अलग डिजाइन्स होती है। जो जैसे हम यूएसए में कर रहे हैं तो वहाँ से हमको डिजाइन और कलर्स दिया जाता है, तो उसी बेस पे हम प्रोडक्ट्स डेवलप करते हैं।
I think one thing maybe she would have not said, but then actually it's very much part of this project, is that this profiling, the documentations of the artists, the musicians, actually are done by the musicians communities themselves, no?
No,
it's not.
No, it's not.
It's
done
not
by us, but maybe in future we would like to have them in our team so
Okay.
that it's also
Okay, because this now. Okay, sorry.
That was a wonderful question that actually asked that when we deal with export, how much change we do. And that was also the classic example that Portu, the anklet and the bracelet which Mama Chandra showed. When we bring it for export through HHEC, Handover Handicraft Export Council, Government of India, then they said certain colors, and he said, this is what they make, and take it what they make. And that one stand has resolved so much tension for us that now, whether you go to the airport, you will find it in Delhi Darbar, on cash counters, the Banjara anklets. So, because the Banjaran once told me, what do you know of color? And I really realized at that time, I don't know that much as they can put together. So, gradually, it's our duty also to cultivate the taste of the market to our kind of culture, which Dasna has been doing very efficiently.
It's a delicate balance,
yes.
Because I don't think you can say, I mean, the craft is something that has always evolved with the market. It has never remained static. If you look at any Indian craft, even if it is a village craft, it has changed, adapting to what customers want. But my whole thing is that craftspeople have to be part of that process. It can't be some design which is coming internationally which they don't respond to. And the person who's giving that design has also to be aware of what this tradition is, what they'll be making, what kind of potential it has, and it has to be a partnership. It can't be coming top down, and at the same time, down cannot always assume that the top is going to absorb everything with their making.
Originality, yeah.
So somewhere, and that is why the domestic market is a good way to keep your feet on the ground, and export should be the icing on the cake. You know, the bread and butter should be the Indian domestic market. I feel always very nervous when many of the NGOs that Daskar works with, when they become a little successful, they are picked up by some export house or somebody. And of course it's very exciting because it's volume orders, it's a safe thing. They don't have to go from bazaar to bazaar, but they know they can be assured. But it's a very fickle market, and it can go from India, the next year they may go to Bali, and after Bali they may go to the Philippines. And so you have to have something, the security of the Indian domestic market has to be there.
Okay, now all the examples we have seen so far, the use of ICT for rural artists, artisans, somehow presupposes the interventions of the NGOs. or the individuals, and so it's really done by the so-called the communities, rural communities, artisans themselves. Then the question arises, what happens to the copyright? All the content that you generate is actually the work of NGOs. So naturally, as per the IPR regimes, the ownership of the content belongs to those NGOs or photographers or whoever has done the website or the program. So the question is it where we want to go? Or we want to be the owner? Where is the community's right comes? And now, so this dilemma keeps coming up now.